For over 400 years, the armies of Kyros the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kyros' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus. The voices of Narat, spymaster and Archon of secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Chorus. With each battle, the Scarlet Chorus grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die. Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored. Though small in number, Kyros' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tyranny, the Adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kyros' minions. Tyranny brings Kyros' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kyros' armies came to our lands. How could we have known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands?
In the Northern Empire where you were born, men enjoy equal protections under the laws of the Overlord Kyros. In the southern lands of the Tiers, only men may own or captain ships, but real estate is restricted to women. Men may lease, but durable ownership of the land in the Tiers always passes to eldest daughters or sisters. Most sons enter their father's profession by their mid-teens. Those without a profession or family lands to work can find purpose by pledging service to one of the Overlord's mighty Archons. Criminals, derelicts, and others are often conscripted into the armies of the Archons. If a child cannot forge his own skein, he will certainly find one in battle. Though they would never tell you why, Kyros bestowed great wealth upon your family for some unmentioned service, and your parents used this wealth to have you raised far from home. Your childhood was a nomadic tour of Tyrantus, with hired tutors and fleeting friendships. Where others had stability and routine, you had a worldly and varied education. A careless word in a far-flung city landed you in legal trouble, and you were taken before Tyranny, the Adjudicator, and made to stand trial. Not only did you plead your innocence, but you turned the accusations around on the accuser for wasting the court's time, and the Archon of Justice concurred. Amused by your wit, wisdom, and adaptability, Tyranny claimed you as his newest enforcer.
All the world has fallen to Kyros, and now the Overlord's eye is on the Tiers, our home, the last corner of the world free of Kyros' reign. Two armies, the disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kyros a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kyros' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we Tiersmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the Tiers sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
Welcome everybody to Tyranny. As always, I am your host, J Square John Jeremy, and right now we're showcasing a prologue episode focusing on the Conquest mode as part of the character creation. As you saw just minutes before, we created our character, John Jeremy, a Fatebinder under the service of the Adjudicator, a diplomat, a different type of character than most would normally create. Warriors, mages, archers. No, we chose diplomat. I thought it'd be kind of interesting. During the Conquest, you will decide your character's actions during Kyros' invasion of the Tiers, shaping the world through which you will adventure over the course of the game. Each choice you make affects your character and how major factions of the Tiers respond to you. Your decisions matter. Choose wisely. You'll note that Kyros is highlighted. If you hover your cursor over it, you'll find more information. Kyros is a name out of legend. For centuries, the Overlord has consolidated power, sending vast armies to swallow entire realms. The most powerful mystic the world has ever seen, Kyros can issue edicts, magical proclamations that level cities, spread pox, sunder the lands, or change the course of seasons. The Archons, the masters of magic throughout the known world, bow to Kyros, and the Overlord readily destroys any Archons unwilling to kneel. These sorceresses and madmen lead the Overlord's armies in near endless conquest. As the realms of the known world fall to the Overlord, these captured territories are divvied up amongst the Archons to manage. Able to deliver suffering and woe to every corner of Tyranny without leaving the capital, few have seen the Overlord in person. Though Kyros' single name is the single most recognized name in the world, only the Archons can say what the Overlord looks like. So we've got ourselves a hidden leader as we enter year 1 of Kyros' conquest. The Bastard City. The Bastard City stood on the northern border between Kyros' empire and the Tiers. Built upon a natural harbor at the crossroads between realms, the city was a nexus of commerce. To the Tiers, it was the center of all wealth. To a northerner, it was little more than a backwater trading post. Its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kyros' military conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kyros' armies. Taking this city would send a message to the rest of the Tiers. Kyros' will is insurmountable. Named for its position between two realms, the Northern Empire and the Southern Tiers, the Bastard City and its surrounding lands, known as the Bastard Tier, is a melting pot of cultures and a place of commerce and intrigue. The Tiersmen of the South view the Bastard City as a place of wealth and excess, but to the people of the Northern Empire, the Bastard City is little more than a sprawling slum. Tunin the Adjudicator established his court in the Bastard City. From this foothold in the Tiers, he and his court of Fatebinders impose Kyros' laws upon the conquered land. Keep in mind, we're actually showcasing a prologue, so the Tiers have fallen, and it's our choices that decide how it fell. So we have two options to choose from here: the Gates of Judgment or infiltrate the Tiers. If we infiltrate the Tiers, history would remember the Gates of Judgment as the first battle of the conquest, but the real combat unfolded with advance units of both armies preparing for the coming war. The Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus each had a plan to infiltrate the capital city. Which army did you join? We have an option to favor the Disfavored or to favor the Scarlet Chorus. And based on our actions, we gain favor with these factions and potentially lose favor with the other. With the Gates of Judgment, the armies of Kyros took the battle to the Gates of Judgment, trumpeting the opening call of the Conquest of the Tiers. The two armies brought their distinctive sense of order and chaos to the assault. You went to battle alongside the army whose approach best suited your strengths. Once again, standing shield to shield with the disfavored, or rushed in with the chaotic mass of the Scarlet Chorus. I think in this scenario, since we're playing as a diplomat who has some points in subterfuge, infiltrating the tiers would be the best option for us. Do we go ahead and go with the disfavored? You lent your skills to the elite disfavored scouts to capture a border garrison. Graven Ash insisted that an early victory in the offensive would boost the morale of his troops and diminish the haughty overconfidence of the Southerners. Or do we join the Scarlet Chorus as they raid villages and small towns, conscripting every able-bodied man and woman into the army? The voices of Narat emphasize the rewards of conscription and enslavement over wanton bloodshed. Apparently, his soldiers needed the reminder. Before we choose, let's find out exactly more about these factions. Disciplined and battle-hardened, the disfavored are an elite legion in Kyros' army. They spearheaded the conquest of the Younger Realms, finding themselves always outnumbered, but never outclassed. Led by the steadfast and dutiful Graven Ash, whom they follow with obsessive devotion, they are committed to imposing their interpretation of order upon the relative lawlessness of the tiers. The Legion only tolerates Northerners in their ranks, priding themselves on their high standards and cultural purity. The Scarlet Chorus is little more than a gang of thugs and their captive slaves. Rather than organize under commissioned officers, the Chorus follow a hierarchy seemingly ruled by whoever has the bravado to command and defend their position. At the head of this chaotic pecking order, the Archon of Secrets, better known as the Voices of Narat, treats the Scarlet Chorus as his personal army. The Scarlet Chorus often suffers tremendous losses after battle, only to swell in the aftermath when captured enemies and collateral prisoners are given the cruel opportunity to join or die. And then here we have ways to find out more about Graven Ash and the Voices of Narat. The last of the great northern generals to stand against the Overlord in ages past, Archon Graven Ash now serves Kyros as supreme commander of the disfavored legion and is charged with conquering the tiers. Graven Ash shares a powerful bond with the soldiers under his command and regards each of them as family. The death of a soldier at enemy hands represents a grievous loss to the old general, who bears the burden of his love with mournful stoicism. Compare that to the Voices of Narat. Known in his official capacity as the Archon of Secrets, the Voices of Narat is equal parts genius and madman. Rumors abound that he can steal the minds of others, though few, if any, are alive to confirm as much. The subjects of his interrogation are never heard from again, and the Archon is able to recall the memories of his victims with startling accuracy. He is the inconsistent leader of the Scarlet Chorus, vacillating between commanding from the vanguard and directing his armies in absentia. Despite his strange methods, no one doubts that the Voices of Narat is an accomplished strategist, even suggesting that his madness stems from thinking hundreds, perhaps thousands of steps ahead of his enemies. Based on that information, do we decide to aid the disfavored scouts? or conscript enemy fighters for the Scarlet Chorus. As a diplomat, what would our character John Jeremy do? Chaos doesn't become him. Will aid the disfavored scouts. The Oath-bound scouts identified a modest border defense and collaborated on an organized attack that would leave the enemy uncoordinated and cut off from aid. You oversaw the preparations and offered your opinions on the strategy. When the clashing of swords and spears fell to silence, followed by the cheering of disfavored scouts, you were the least surprised. Now, based on that selection, we have two more to choose from. Inside Agent. With the border garrison captured by your disfavored allies, you traveled ahead of Kyros' armies and lurked in the shadows of the bastard city. You decided that converting one of the locals to Kyros' side would help bring the city to its knees. After all, corruption starts from within. Or do we choose Containing the Fire? Your fiercest opponents in the bastard city were the mages of the School of Wild Wrath. Too barbaric to use their power responsibly, the unbridled practitioners needed to be stopped. How did you trick the hot-tempered mages into their own undoing? Both appeal to me because both utilize our deception skill as a diplomat, if we're going to be tricking these mages or converting one of the soldiers to our side. As a fellow mage, we would want to make sure that those who utilize the arcane arts were our followers. So, we'll choose Containing the Fire. Do we lure them into a disfavored ambush? You lured the hot-headed mages to an ambush where a legion of disfavored waited to spring the trap. The soldiers were hungry for a chance to subdue the arcane branch of Tyr's resistance. Or do we have them have a meeting with the voices of Narat? You tricked the guild elders into meeting with the voices of Narat, Archon of Secrets. The Archon was notorious for his cruel and mysterious interrogation techniques. The mages were never seen again. And if he's able to recall the memories of his victims, all the more reason to deliver them to Narat, as he will be able to use their power. There were few who could describe what horrors the Archon of Secrets visited upon his enemies during the Conquest. Whether the elder mages knew little of the Archon's reputation or met with him out of curiosity didn't matter. Once the flap of the Archon's tent closed, none of them were heard from again, save for a strangled cry of alarm that ended just as swiftly. Leaderless, the School of Wild Wrath fell into disorder, and the remaining members were slain by the disfavored or conscripted into the Scarlet Chorus. Betrayal of the Bastard City. Your tactics of infiltration placed you in the Bastard City ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city defenses for the arrival of Kyros' forces, but you wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How did you assist in the fall of the Bastard City? Did we duel the city marshal, incite a riot, or spread fear through assassination? You challenged the commander of the Bastard City's defenses to an honorable fight to the death. The disfavored wished to spare soldier lives for the battles ahead and civilian lives for occupation. Looks like we gain an ability here, Warrior's Respite. Minus 50% damage for 12 seconds, plus 15% health for every 3 seconds for 12 seconds. So it's like a healing skill. Spreading the word of Kyros, you converted the poor and disaffected into a hidden army of the Scarlet Chorus. Once the dust settled, the army wished to bolster their troops with these sleeper cells. A different ability here, Searing Palm. Looks like this is an attack. 8 to 15 fire versus magic. Or, keeping to the shadows, you eliminated the leaders of the Bastard City one by one. For this, we get Concealing Shadows, which looks like it allows us to dodge attacks, but our attacks will also be less effective. In this instance, I think that John would want to showcase his own prowess apart from either faction. We'll go for the assassination. Some deaths were quiet and unnoticed, while others were gruesome beyond words. As a wave of murder overtook the city's elite, your deeds swelled in infamy. Well before the armies arrived, no one in the Bastard City felt safe in their homes, much less behind their walls. By the time Kyros' forces crested the horizon, the city was fearful enough to throw open the gates and welcome their new protectors. And with that, the Bastard City is conquered. The Bastard City settled into a new state of normalcy, with every tower displaying Kyros' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into two fronts and migrated south. Tunin sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kyros' conquest, either as judge and overseer of the settlement of Lethian's Crossing, or as a war advisor with the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. First, let's find out more about Tunin. Tunin, the Adjudicator, is the Archon of Justice, ruler of the conquered realms and arbiter of disputes. Oldest of the Archons sent to conquer the Tiers, Tunin speaks with Kyros' authority. His true appearance remains hidden behind an iron mask, the face of judgment. Tunin is an impartial, sober creature wholly obsessed with justice and order. Though assumed to be a powerful combatant, Tunin rarely strays from his throne room, entrusting his court of fatebinders to act as his eyes and ears, as well as judges, juries, and executioners. So do we choose to go to Lethian's Crossing or Apex? Lethian's Crossing has more information, Apex does not. Built in the shadow of an old wall's junction in the realm of Haven, Lethian's Crossing is a growing trading settlement. The nearby rivers are rich in iron ore, though the locals lack the technology to smelt and forge the element. In the years following Kyros' conquest of the Tiers, the population of Lethian's Crossing swelled, with refugees fleeing the destruction of their homelands. The presence of the forge-bound, mining the iron, along with their guards, makes this makeshift settlement a vital resource for Kyros' armies. Okay, vital resource indeed. But Apex, okay. The troops of the mountain realm of Apex stood idle in the safety of their valley, biding their time as their neighbors in the Bastard Tier fell. In the second year of war, a joint force of the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus crossed over the mountains to take control of the Tier's central valley. So it's in the center of everything. That's interesting. Apex or Lethian's Crossing? Let's go to Apex. Year 2 of Kyros' conquest. The mountain nation of Apex, ruled for generations by the queens of House Vendrian, stood at the heart of the Tiers. No army could bypass the landlocked realm without leaving their flank exposed to attack. By the second year of the war, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus had pushed deep into the tiers. Elements of both armies were dispatched to conquer Apex. Tunin assigned you to accompany them, tasked with bringing Kyros' law to the territory, as well as keeping an eye on both armies. Again, 2 choices. The Battle of Edgering Pass, Denial of Strength. The Disfavored sent their most destructive ally to crush Edgering Fort. Cairn, Archon of Stone, buried the stronghold under an avalanche triggered from the surrounding mountains. The Scarlet Chorus were promised captured enemies for recruitment, yet none survived the onslaught. The Chorus demanded compensation. Let's find out more about Cairn. As tall as the hills, Cairn is the Archon of Stone, master of earth and soil, destroyer of mountains and cities. Cairn is the reluctant leader of the Earthshaker Guild, though he is less their teacher and more their object of study. The massive Archon is sworn to Graven Ash and provides arcane support for the Disfavored war effort. So we can side with the Disfavored, side with the Scarlet Chorus in this area, or we go to Denial of Strength. A school of water mages loyal to the Tiersmen posed a substantial threat. The Disfavored wished to annihilate the school, while the Scarlet Chorus insisted on capturing the mages, wishing to learn of their craft. Do we go with Denial of Strength, or with the Battle of Edgering Pass? The Battle of Edgering Pass would showcase our ability to kind of be a judge to the results of this battle, while Denial of Strength gives us a choice as to whether or not the water mages will live or die. Let's go with the battle. If we side with the Disfavored, you congratulate the Disfavored for taking the pass without risking the lives of Kyros' loyal servants. At this stage of the campaign, it was vital to use any advantage that would mitigate ally losses. Or you upheld the Scarlet Chorus' claim and demanded that the youngest Disfavored scouts join the chorus to settle the debt. No loss of life is important. We will side with the Disfavored here. The Scarlet Chorus' claims were insignificant compared to the lossless victory. You congratulated the Disfavored and encouraged the Scarlet Chorus to better value their soldiers' lives, a suggestion that gang bosses took worse than the original offense. Vowing to remember this, the slighted army returned to camp to sulk, if not lick their wounds. The Marriage Bed Armistice, or Swords of the Fallen. Scarlet Chorus soldiers were seen wearing Disfavored gear, supposedly taken from those who fell in battle. The Disfavored were outraged, citing tradition that their armor passed only to next of kin within the army. In a debate of tradition versus practicality, you had to rule in favor of one army over another. I already know what I would choose here, but let's see what the Marriage Bed Armistice is. The enemy readied for a peacetime festival as Kyros' forces armed for battle. The Disfavored paid no mind to the southern custom and planned to attack the Vendrian forces during their annual celebration. The Scarlet Chorus insisted on a day of non-violence. As former Tiersmen, many could grasp the decency of a temporary reprieve. In both these situations, both the Marriage Bed Armistice and the Swords of the Fallen, I would side with the Scarlet Chorus. Practicality is more important in war, in my opinion. And if we are to rule over a conquered people, best to make them as happy as possible during the conquering. Either way, I go with the Scarlet Chorus. Let's go with the Marriage Bed Armistice. You offered the locals their last feast, sending a few Scarlet Chorus agents into the mix in good faith. The army hoped that the gesture would foster an air of partnership for the occupation to come. The festivities went off as expected, and the Scarlet Chorus recruits you sent to enjoy themselves reported little animosity among the revelers. The disfavored protested your ruling as too merciful, and waged all-night training drills to combat the sounds of celebration with an anthem of swords and shields. You sent forces to attack the following day, a battle from which the disfavored recused themselves out of protest. Really? Intriguing. They refused to go to war. The fall of Apex. With the defeat of Apex and inevitability, the armies of Kyros met to discuss how to put an end to this stage of the conquest. Both armies agreed to send an offer of parley. Along with their acceptance, the enemy requested that you appear at the meeting. Word of your fair dealings had apparently spread to their ranks. How did you orchestrate the surrender of the realm of Apex? Do we negotiate the surrender? Through days of meditation, you negotiated the surrender of the valley to Kyros' forces, putting an end to further bloodshed. Or do we challenge the Queen? Taunting the Queen of Apex into striking you under a banner of truce, you baited the Queen of Apex into a duel and slew her, frightening her vassals into submission. Because we're a diplomat, we will negotiate the surrender. Your former enemies were loath to part with their lands, but they were even more reluctant to continue a war they were losing at every turn. The Tearsmen are a stubborn lot, and despite their grim situation, it still took days of discussion and diplomacy to show them the madness of tenacity. On the third day of mediation, the rules of Apex finally submit to your terms of surrender, putting an end to the war in the valley and freeing up Kyros' forces to march deeper into the Tears. And Apex is now conquered. The lands of Apex finally rested in the hands of Kyros' forces. The Scarlet Chorus paused to revel in victory, while the disfavored prepared themselves for the next fight, affording but an evening's rest. Kyros' armies radiated out from the conquered Citadel and worked their way across the Tears. The disfavored and Scarlet Chorus aimed to dominate as much territory as possible in the coming year. Your distinguished reputation in Kyros' military left the choice of your next destination yours to make. You may only choose one of these locations: Stalwart, Azure, or Vellum Citadel. Stalwart. With its easily defended position and rich military tradition, the realm of Stalwart was the most formidable realm in the Tears. Azure. Kyros dispatched the Archon of Stone to subjugate the nation of Azure. Vellum Citadel. Kyros' conquering gaze fell upon the Vellum Citadel, its treasures, its knowledge, its secrets. Let's go to Vellum Citadel. Year 3 of Kyros' conquest. The Vellum Citadel was an archive and library of massive scale. Its inhabitants were known as the School of Ink and Quill, a circle of mages that, centuries ago, carved out their own mountainous refuge on lands unsettled by the other major realms. Legends said that the Citadel housed a treasure trove of arcane knowledge. The Overlord spies infiltrated the school and confirmed as much. The time was ripe to send a detachment to the great library fortress and force the scholars to yield to Kyros. The Vellum Citadel was a library fortress, the largest archive of the written word in the Tears. The School of Ink and Quill protected and maintained the archive of ancient lore for centuries, standing apart from the political upheavals of the younger realms as an enduring pillar of knowledge and culture. Alright. Chain of Command. Song of Ensnarement. A detachment of Kyros' army marched on the Vellum Citadel, expecting an orderly surrender. As they neared the main gates, a blast of arcane energy struck the commanders dead. Suddenly, the highest-ranking officer alive, Kyros' forces looked to you for the next steps. The call weighed on your mind, as it had an immediate influence on soldier losses. Do we order the Scarlet Chorus to attack, or order the disfavored to advance? You order the expendable Scarlet Chorus to attack, commanding the disorderly mob forward to give the elite disfavored a chance to withdraw. Though a costly maneuver in terms of lives lost, this assured the survival of the most capable and effective soldiers. Or, you order the disfavored to advance their shield wall, knowing that a handful of Kyros' elite soldiers could hold off the attack until the Scarlet Chorus retreated. You knew the disfavored would despise you for any losses at the Scarlet Chorus' expense, but that was a small price to pay for saving lives. Or Song of Ensnarement. Syrian, Archon of Song, used her power to enthrall enemy mages who crept beyond the Citadel walls. After Kyros' forces rounded up the arcane practitioners, the disfavored began executing the new captives before they could share dangerous knowledge, a crime under Kyros' law, with the Scarlet Chorus. Do we muzzle the mages, or punish the disfavored? You calmed the disfavored with a compromise. The mages' mouths would be bound with iron bridles, preventing them from speaking their forbidden knowledge. Or, you punish the disfavored for executing mages bound to the Scarlet Chorus, ordering that several disfavored soldiers be given to the Archon of Song as her personal bodyguards. Which one do we want to start our work off with? I think we're going to go with Chain of Command, and we're going to order the disfavored to protect the Scarlet Chorus. The disfavored were quick to follow your command, and formed an unbreakable phalanx that gave the unarmored Scarlet Chorus horde a chance to escape. Only once they returned to camp did the singed and maimed disfavored take issue with their orders. As far as they were concerned, the Scarlet Chorus should have taken care of themselves. If they weren't equal to the challenge of defending their brethren, then they had no place in this conquest. Lost to the mountains. Plunder of parchment. The disfavored learned of a hidden enemy enclave and sent scouts to locate it. They never returned from their mission. The remaining disfavored soldiers demanded that you send the Scarlet Chorus to retrieve their scouts, but the Scarlet Chorus flatly refused to fall into the same trap. They recommended that the scouts be treated as wartime casualties. I know what I would pick in this situation. What's plunder of parchment? The army captured a supply caravan overflowing with arcane books. When the disfavored started a bonfire of forbidden texts, the Scarlet Chorus rescued the tomes from the flames and attacked. Since I just pissed off the disfavored in the last selection, let's send the Scarlet Chorus to rescue the lost scouts. You order the Scarlet Chorus to send scouts to locate and rescue the lost disfavored patrol. Though the Scarlet Chorus were bitter at having their time wasted in search of lost soldiers, grandstanding before their rivals in the disfavored was an opportunity too delicious to ignore. Tracking the Legion yielded them the sight of an ambush, where spell-slinging mages had the last of the disfavored scouts pinned down. After launching a successful counterattack, the Chorus escorted the shaken and humiliated disfavored scouts back to camp. Everyone wins! The Edict of Fire. Food and morale dwindled as the siege party realized the enemy would win this war of attrition. Tunun sent word that Kyros' patience had run thin. The Overlord would cast an Edict of Fire on the enemy. The parchment arrived in a slender case of engraved iron. Written on it, the words of a spell powerful enough to destroy the Vellum Citadel. You had the choice of when to read the edict. Reading it at sunrise would offer your enemies no warning of the devastation to come. You could also wait until sunset, giving them ample time to flee or make amends. Do we give no warning, which apparently the disfavored are for, or do we give 1 day's warning, which the Scarlet Chorus is for? Opting to give the enemy no quarter, you proclaim the Edict of Fire at the first moments of dawn, granting the enemy no warning of the destruction to come. Though the chorus insisted your actions doomed their spies, the disfavored applauded your decision. Claiming they still had spies within the Citadel, the Scarlet Chorus urged you to warn the mages of the Overlord's edict. Granting their request, you met with the enemy under a blue flag of peace and warned them of their doom, giving the chorus spies and the enemy a chance to run. Ooh, this one's interesting. Which one do we pick? Do we give them no warning? Or do we give them 1 day's warning? We gave them the 1 day's peace for the feast. There really is no reason why we wouldn't give them a 1 day's warning for this as well. Considering that what Kyros is trying to do is just destroy the place itself. But the knowledge would still be in the mages. But they're spies from the Scarlet Chorus. We'll give them a warning. You confronted the mages with a warning and hoped the message was received. The hour before sunset, numerous figures were spotted fleeing the Citadel. As the sun dipped under the horizon, you read the words of the edict. The earth shook, and red-orange light glowed in the foundation of the sprawling Citadel. Bubbling up from under the library, a torrent of lava heaved with explosive force, gushing from windows and between loose bricks, melting winding trenches in the surrounding lands. Days later, the flames still raged on, the conflagration continually fed and renewed by the power of the edict. Kyros' most powerful magic is that of the edict. Commandments cast upon whole regions that can control and destroy man and nature alike. Once cast, an edict can rain fire, wither crops, demoralize cities, usher in endless night, or do whatever it is that Kyros envisioned. No known force, magical or mundane, can stop an edict, though each edict is often worded to include some condition or contingency that will see its end. Some edicts have been short-lived, delivering days of wanton catastrophe. Just as many have lingered for centuries. And with that, Vellum Citadel is destroyed. The armies of Kyros left the devastation of the Vellum Citadel in silence. From that day forward, the Tears came to know the once noble Citadel as the Burning Library. This was an undisputed loss of resources, knowledge, culture, and life. But a message had been sent. The Overlord will not tolerate defiance. You didn't have long to rest before Tunin called you into service once more. You were one of the last to depart from mountains, and as you journeyed off, you spotted a few campfires in the mountains. They were mere specks, dwarfed by the inferno, the last gasps of survivors, or perhaps looters from Kyros' armies bored and daring enough to pick through the ashes. Previously known as the Vellum Citadel, the archive and ancestral home of the sages is now the site of a volcanic crater. Eruptions of lava began during the conquest of the Tears after Kyros' forces failed to claim the library in the Overlord's name. Kyros cast an Edict of Fire to break the siege and rid the world of the forbidden knowledge stored there. The Citadel has been a smoking ruin ever since. Conquest complete. You have reached the end of Kyros' conquest. Do you want to continue or erase your progress and start over? No, I think we're ready to continue.
The year is 431, and Kyros' invasion has shattered all major opposition in the tiers. The Younger Realms, the Bastard Tier, the Free Cities. All who defied Kyros lay broken by battle, or bowed in surrender. The two armies of the Overlord, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, now control our lands. But our will is not yet extinguished. Not entirely. In the Valley of Vendrian's Well, those of us unwilling to bow to Kyros have banded together in defiance. Violating an oath of surrender from 2 years prior, we have staged a bloody uprising, murdering the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus garrison in a midnight assault. With their main forces spread across the tiers, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus redeploy to Vendrian's Well to crush the resistance, but months pass with no definitive battle. As disagreement and discord paralyze the Archons, we bide our time and wait for our message of insurrection to spread across the tiers. The Overlord is not amused, and Kyros has one message for the Archons: crush the Oathbreakers or die. Kyros backs this threat with an edict, a magical commandment that can slay all in the valley should the order be ignored. The honor of proclaiming this edict fell to you. Sent across the mountains to Vendrian's Well, you carry the Overlord's edict to read before the Archons. As you finally make your way through the winding mountain passes into the valley, the ground trembles, and Kyros' magic seals the way behind you. You are trapped in Vendrian's Well, with Kyros' armies and the Oathbreakers. The only way to survive is to fulfill the terms of the Overlord's edict, in any way that you can.
Fatebinder John Jeremy, I presume? We've been expecting you. Alright folks, and with that, we are about to start our campaign in Tyranny. But that will be next time. Hey everyone, J-Square John Jeremy here, and I want to thank you for watching. Check out another video from yours truly, or take a look at the playlist for this series. If you haven't done so already, click on the logo to subscribe and keep track of this channel. Until next time, so long, and take care.